Hello, everyone. My name is Victoria, and today I'll be presenting my topic on resolving community conflict, addressing the housing crisis. So, the key points today that I would like to discuss is discussing how social workers can help address community conflict, presented in the key stakeholder video case study. So, the primary issue in this case study is the housing crisis, specifically the shortage of affordable housing and also the rising cost of housing. So, if you've heard of any news articles, I'm sure you have seen that they're trying to raise the costs of housing, raise the interest rates of housing. So, we're just discussing that based off of the video. And the housing rates are particularly rising in the market of like a lot of low income families. So, as a result, tensions arise between communities, community residents, government agencies, housing developers, and other stakeholders who may have different priorities and perspectives. So, today I would just like to present a quick topic on this and help to educate a little further. So, the role of social workers can be multiple things. So, social workers can play a critical role in addressing community level problems like housing instability. In this situation, social workers could help facilitate communication between stakeholders, ensuring that all perspectives are heard, kind of being that middle person, that gap that helps speak on behalf of them between the residents and the stakeholders. Not only making sure that they're heard and also making sure that they're respected. Social workers also can advocate for vulnerable populations. So for those populations that are either scared or don't want to be able to speak for themselves, that's where we kind of step in to give that extra voice, that extra help. Particularly those who are most affected by the lack of affordable housing. And additionally, the help will help coordinate resources and encourage collaboration between community organizations, housing authorities, and policymakers. All of those individuals are the people who are involved, but it affects the low income families the most. So I would like to discuss now the different types of conflict. So we have structural conflict. The structural conflict is going to be limited housing resources, policy restrictions, economic pressures, and comparing stakeholders' priorities. So the conflict presents in this case study, as we watch the video, can be categorized as structural conflict. And those structural conflicts are some of the things that I was just naming, like the limited housing resources, a policy restriction, and economic pressures, and competing stakeholder priorities. So, structural conflict occurs when systematic factors such as policies, economic limitations, or resource shortages create tensions between groups. So, in housing crisis, the limited ability for affordable housing combined with economic pressures creates competing priorities among stakeholders. For example, developers may prioritize profits while community members prioritize affordable housing options. So they're thinking more so, how can they profit more from this versus someone who is living in these neighborhoods in this community thinking, how can we just afford to live in this housing market? Which brings us to my next slide. My next slide is conflict resolution strategies. So to address this conflict, I would use a combination of meditation and advocacy. So, mediation. We can also meditate, but mediation and advocacy. So, mediation will help facilitate dialogue. Again, kind of help being that voice of reason, that middle person. We can help be for those members in the community that needs that extra help and that extra voice, we can help promote understanding and then identify shared goals. Because if we can identify that shared common goal, then hopefully that will help with the stakeholder and the community members to help work together. The advocacy is going to be ensuring marginalized voices are heard and promote fair housing policies. So we want to, by combining these strategies, social workers can help stakeholders develop solutions that address both economic development goals and community needs. So both parties are being heard. Next, I would like to discuss steps to resolve the conflict. So resolving community conflict requires a structural process. First, us as the social workers would identify the concerns and priorities of each stakeholder group. Next, we will facilitate open dialogue through community meetings or forums. Sitting down, maybe having a community meeting where all members are open to participate and encouraging that. Establishing a common ground is critical as many stakeholders share their goal of creating stable communities, and many community members' goal is affordable housing. So from there, potential solutions can be explored and collaborative action plans can be developed. Basically, if we're sitting down on that common goal, we can all sit down to hear one another and understand that we may actually have the same common goal, but just different perspective, different voices of getting there. So that will kind of help with the steps to resolve the conflict. We do want to collaborate with organizations and community. So not just the community members and the stakeholders, but the local housing authority, the community, different community organizations, if there's RECs, different nonprofit housing groups, any food banks or local government agencies or churches. So collaboration is essential in addressing complex social issues such as housing, because it truly affects us all. So social workers can come in a huge play with this by often partner with local housing authorities, seeing who their members are, seeing how we could help and collaborate with the nonprofit housing organization, community groups, and government agencies. Just helping all around with the partnerships will help with the resources, the combined resources, the expertise, and perspectives to help create comprehensive solutions. So overall collaboration ensures that community members remain actively involved in their decision making as well. Not just saying this is what we're doing, but again, giving them that voice to be heard, that voice so that they understand that their ideas and their concerns are essentially being heard. So we have to practice balancing advocacy and empowerment. So advocacy is going to represent community concerns, address policy barriers, and then we have empowerment where we want to encourage the community participation, support leadership among residents, providing those residents with some type of leadership or giving them, promoting them to kind of take lead or take charge as far as maybe help organizing a community leadership group, or just being that voice kind of will help balance the empowerment. So it's not just a leader speaking every time. It's not just a local government agency, but also an equal balance of community members as well as those other members stated. So it's very important responsibility for social workers to balance in advocacy with empowerment. Advocacy involves speaking up for the community experiencing housing issues. However, empowerment focuses on supporting group members and advocating for themselves. So just kind of giving them that encouragement that they can speak on these things themselves. They can bring these issues up. So we can empower those residents by participation in public meetings, providing education, housing rights and supporting community leaders' development. Just giving them all the options and the tools that they need to help support them. So, rationale for approach will be again, this reason for our approach is effective is because it encourages collaboration while promoting social justice. While stakeholders work together and community members have a voice in decision making, solutions are more equitable and sustainable. Social workers help bridge the gap between policyholders, policymakers, developers, and residents, create opportunities for long term community stability. They get a long term member that helps create that stability and it helps create that community. We next have evolution of outcomes. Evolution is a key part of social work practice. Success is addressing the housing crisis can be measured by improvements in affordable housing availability, stronger collaboration among stakeholders, and increased community participation. Evaluating outcomes allows social workers whether strategies are effective and make adjustments when necessary. And conclusion, to sum everything up, just to wrap up this time, thank you, first of all, for listening to me discuss this matter. The housing crisis. The housing crisis is a complex issue that requires collaboration among many stakeholders, among community members, and among social workers. Again, social workers play a vital role in facilitating communication and help advocating for that vulnerable population and empowering communities and participation in that decision making. So through mediation, advocacy, collaboration, partnership, social workers can help develop solutions that can ultimately address both the community needs and the broader policy change. So I really hope you got something out of this PowerPoint. I want to say thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure presenting this.